Hey, welcome back to the Ping Pong Flick Show. My name is Chris Wong. Took a little small staycation. I'm still on staycation, but took a little vacation on Maui at the Grand Wailea. It was great. We had lots of fun, and of course, I couldn't do any videos. And I wish I did. I wish I could. This is me making up for all of that because it has really been quite a roller coaster few days for DCEU, hasn't it? Hasn't it? Oh my god, is this DC Elseworlds universe, DC Epic universe, DC Ecstatic universe, DC Embarrassing universe? There's so many acronyms for this right now. I mean, there's so much things that has happened. Big pointers here. First of all, fandom kind of even more so splitting on as the new movie details come out, especially Aquaman. I know there was a whole bunch of you guys who don't like that trailer. The jokes were off-putting. I get it. I understand. And it's still coming off from Justice League, right? It's still coming off from what Warner Brothers has done to that movie, what Warner Brothers has done to even David Ayer's Suicide Squad. That trust is still not there, or even at all. I mean, there is no trust after all of that, right? A lot of us can all agree on that. And then we had that whole shake-up with Walter Hamada, and so people started to like, maybe he's getting into, maybe this is it. But when they saw that trailer, and of course they're used to that, seeing those funny, quippy moments in other universes, such like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that it kind of takes away more of that trust again. It's like we haven't learned anything or anything like that. In my opinion, I think it works, okay, and I'll tell you why. Because we know about this Aquaman movie, and we know about how Jason Momoa said that he is not completely Aquaman until the end of this film. He is not the Aquaman we know until the end of this film. And so when he has those two lines where he talks to Mara and he says, I could have peed on that. It's like a jokingly way of kind of teasing her at the same time. He's really into himself. He's just here. He's playing around. He's not being serious. And when she said, "Didn't you get all that?" and he goes, something trident, because all he cares about is like, that's a badass weapon. I want to take mine. I want to get that. He's not thinking about saving the world. So within those terms, and I don't know if the movie comes out and there's like weird jokes thrown in out of nowhere, then yeah, I'm gonna like, that sucks. But right now, I think those were part of his character development, in which he is a selfish asshole jerk guy. He's just being all macho. He doesn't care. He wants the, whatever, I'm just doing this because I'm having fun. Then that plays well into that character, as that character arc. And then I'm expecting him to be more serious, more wanting to save people, help people towards the end of the movie, which I'm expecting. So I forgive those little quippy moments, and I did laugh at it. And I felt like that makes it seem like he was that type of selfish, self-indulging character, that which he's not yet the hero that we deserve until the end of the film. But I totally understand why people would be so off-putting, because they've gone through so much, through this negativity of Warner Brothers playing into and trying to make it more jokey and things like that. And I'm hoping that people do understand that a lot of these people, I don't know of all of them, but a lot of these people aren't actually insulting James Wan per se. They just don't trust Warner Brothers to not mess with James Wan's work. How they'll hold their hand, kind of like how Disney holds all these directors' hand. Kevin Feige telling Taika Waititi to make it more funnier. They probably told James Gunn to make Guardians of the Galaxy 2 more funnier, make Drax more jokey. They have that hand-holding thing that Disney likes to do, so that their films are to a par level that Disney wants it to be in order to be part of that whole Marvel Cinematic Universe. So that's why that's intentionally done that way. And so we hope Warner Brothers is not doing that, because we've got some great directors here. We've got people like Kathy Yan. We've got the Dalian Goldstein for The Flash, and we got Patty Jenkins, of course, and then we got David Sandberg. But these people are talented directors that are actually coming out of what they're always doing. They're going out of the box to make a superhero film, and so it makes it interesting. It makes something that you can look at Warner Brothers and says, look, they're trying something. They must see something, right? Especially some of the scripts that are there. So you're thinking, well, they must see something there, and that's Warner Brothers, the new Warner Brothers regime. They just look at Matt Reeves. They're making Matt Reeves do the Batman. They're very patient with that, and all these other movies coming up. And so you look at that and you're like, okay, that's great. That's something new. But then all of a sudden they hire James Gunn to come in here and write Suicide Squad 2 and potentially direct Suicide Squad 2. And actually, within that case, that they're reporting that it's probably gonna not be an actual sequel, either a rewrite, making a new Suicide Squad, or other members of the Suicide Squad, a different story, but part of the universe, or is it elsewhere? So, who knows at this point. And so a lot of people are like very angry about that. Why is James Gunn? Look at them now. They're doing it again. They did that with Joss Whedon, who's a Marvel director. Why are they hiring Marvel directors are they not learning? And I gotta say that he is a Marvel director, but he's also a writer, and he is writing this movie, potentially directing, and I could totally see that, where you're thinking this is a Marvel director and stuff like that, and that could be true. But there's on the other side where they're like saying, all you guys know is Guardians of the Galaxy and Guardians of the Galaxy 2. He did some great work. He wrote Dawn of the Dead, which Zack Snyder directed. He did Slither. That was a pretty interesting sci-fi creature fest. We have some dark moments, but a lot of comedy. So he does things like that, and he also did that superhero one, which is not really a superhero, but it was kind of sad. But you had those down in his resume, right? And people are like, those are the movies you should be looking at. And I get it. I understand if that's what you're looking at and these fans are looking at it another way. But what I'm concerned about is how Warner Brothers is looking at it. Why did Warner Brothers choose James Gunn? Or did James Gunn, because he was fired from Disney, walked over to Warner Brothers Studio and says, hey, can I get a job? I got this kick-ass story. And he pitched Suicide Squad 2. And they were like, yeah, that's a great story. You know what? Sure. I'll forgive that you did pedo jokes over on Twitter. I can see you got talent there. But because of Disney, they're very strict. They don't take anybody. They don't give any second chances whatsoever. But Warner Brothers says, I like that story. Why don't you write Suicide Squad 2? We'll talk about directing, but let's look what you got. And maybe they did see something out there, and which I think is cool. If they saw something in the script or the story that he's writing and saying, that is a great take on a Suicide Squad story, not necessarily the sequel that we wanted, then that's great. That's awesome. They're looking at it in a creative point of view. But as a large studio, financially, they're always looking at numbers like Warner Brothers. And with their reputation from before, even though they have a new regime, Toby Emmerich is still there, Kevin Tsujihara is still there, even though they have Walter Hamada, Walter Hamada is still answering from the above. My fear is that they are hiring James Gunn not because of his resume of being a great writer doing Slither and all this other Dawn of the Dead or even writing some of the Guardians, but mainly because he made Guardians of the Galaxy successful. Okay, so if Warner Brothers is looking at James Gunn and hired him on the spot only because he left Disney and says, "Hey, oh look at that guy, look at that guy! It's that dude who made a bunch of criminal space villains and put them together in a super team and then they made money. They sold a lot of toys. That's the guy. He was gonna be the Phase 4 of Marvel. Let's get him." Then that's messed up. Then that right there, meaning you learn nothing. that means you've learned nothing. If Warner Brothers is choosing that guy just because of his reputation at Marvel, then they're already looking at the financials already. They're chasing the dream again. They're chasing the Marvel Cinematic Universe again. And I hope to God that's not the case. I hope that it was James Gunn who went over to Warner Brothers and says, "Hey, I got this idea for a kind of cool Suicide Squad story. Why don't you take a look at it?" And they're like, "Yeah, you know what? It looks pretty good." The person that's really losing out on this is Gavin O'Connor, by the way, because he made seemingly from what reports have told, he made a kick-ass Suicide Squad 2 story, but then that story is very similar to Birds of Prey. So and David Ayer's Gotham City Sirens, possibly very similar, and that's maybe why we were hearing so many whispers of so many Harley Quinn stories, because they were all making the same freaking story. You got Birds of Prey. You had Gotham City Sirens. And then you got Suicide Squad 2. And maybe they all had Black Mass as the ultimate villain. And they're like looking at the stories like, this is all the same story. Well, Margot, here you go. Swing, maybe at that time they were already looking at the James Gunn story and says, you know what? Since Margot Robbie, it's got Birds of Prey. Kathy Yan is doing it, and that I forgot their Lane Christine or something, who's wrote it for the writer of Bumblebee, has made this story. We're gonna scrap Gotham City Sirens. We're gonna scrap Suicide Squad 2, and these stories is what Birds of Prey is ultimately going to be, which makes room for Suicide Squad 2. But Gavin O'Connor is like, what the hell? So he just like, no, all right, fine. Whatever, I'm done. And so now we got the James Gunn situation. So that's why I'm hoping that if after all this, that we learn that it was a great story pitch from James Gunn, and not necessarily his reputation as the Guardians of the Galaxy director, the person who was supposed to be creating Phase 4 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And so Warner Brothers got greedy and grabbed him on. I'm leaning towards that because it just seems like a financially thing that Warner Brothers wants to do, having learned, practically nothing from what they've done with Joss Whedon. But if they're looking at James Gunn came over, he had a great story, and they said, and this is what they're trying to do now. They're just looking at great stories, and if it's good enough, they'll do it, then fine. But that also leads me to the other case. They don't know what they're doing. Warner Brothers is waiting for great stories, and they'll either fit it in or not fit it in, or don't even give a damn what happens in this universe. It's no longer a cinematic extended. That's why they're not calling it a universe at all. It's just DC films. It's just a whole bunch of DC films who are not really related to each other. Maybe some of these actors and actresses will play the same characters, but they don't really connect to each other. That's actually fine. That will differentiate DC from Marvel Cinematic Universe. It'll be a lot more like X-Men. Well, even X-Men is kind of a little bit more connected than that, but it'll be kind of like that, where like this like DC animated movies, all everybody has their own film. The problem with that is that if us fans are like, we want to see Henry Cavill as Superman again, which it sounds like they're not going to do, according to Revenge of the Fans podcast, is like they totally just left that to dry, and they're not gonna negotiate anything with Henry Cavill. There's no confirmation, by the way, but I am fearful of that because I really want Superman to come out. How can we have all these movies, Suicide Squad, to all these different, things, that we're not going to have a Superman movie, a Superman, a Batman? It's fine. I'm happy for the One Woman movie. Finally, she gets her movies, and Aquaman possibly in the Flash. But come on, Superman? You cannot have a freaking Superman movie? What the heck is going on here? It is literally DC Universe without Superman. It's like he's still dead. And he, in my case, he kind of is until we see, hopefully, the Snyder cut. But it blows my mind. It really is. Why can't we have more? I'm a huge Superman fan, as you already know, and I want to see more of him. But see, if none of these are really connected at all, they're just making movies because of scripts, because the director is saying yes, and because the negotiations are doing well, and they're just throwing movies out there that they can get a green light, then there is no reason they would wait for Henry Cavill as Superman. That's what I'm fearful of. And all these rumors about Batman and whatever. It's like, it's do they even care? They just want to make a good movie, but not care about interconnectivity, which could be good for a lot of people. But for people who are fans of the original characters like Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck, I'm sorry. I think I think if they're going out this way, then they don't really care to have them back. While people who are working and will work for the amount of money they ask for, like Gal Gadot and Jason Momoa and things like that. Jason Momoa might have been already into long. The Aquaman production was already all the way in to even do that. You might even have some remnants of the last production crew, but it's an interesting time, and that's what I'm fearful of, is that Warner Brothers doesn't know what they're doing. They're just green-lighting things that can be green-lit, that seems like it's the story's going to work. All the actors are agreeing to be paid those rates and things like that, and directors agreed to make those movies and stuff like that. This could be good for standalone movies from here on out, in which case there's very little interconnectivity, not like the TV serials that, in a way, like Marvel Cinematic Universe, what they're doing, which is good, differentiates it from that. But it also means they don't quite care for the connectivity, including having the same actors and actresses for those same roles. So it's like a double-edged sword here. We can have standalone films, but maybe we won't even have that connectivity, right, at all. So that's what I'm fearful as well. So, but it is an interesting time, and it's kind of crazy what's going on. I would never have thought James Gunn would be over this side. Seriously. Some people made some funny jokes, though. I've started to read them, where some of you guys are like, maybe we should have supported Marvel rehire James Gunn. That cracks me up. That really cracks me up. But we'll see what happens with that. We'll definitely see. I mean, it's out of our hands in any case. I see a lot of people boycotting and things like that. I'm really interested to see what happens with that movie. If and he does direct it, I don't know. And when the trailer comes out or when the story comes out, we'll see how that goes as well. Is it if it's becoming more Marvel like, then we know what Warner Brothers trying to do. That they did not really learn anything, and they think that's like what Toby Emmerich says, the zeitgeist, right? But it's weird because Infinity War almost flipped it in a way that shows that wait, people are interested in that darker thing. Venom shows a little bit of that, but although they did have some jokes in there, but it's not totally, I don't know, Thor Ragnarok, if you will. It's not Drax and, how Drax is now. So, but I'm very, very curious to see what's going to happen. Now, what does this mean for Zack Snyder? I mean, Zack Snyder universe is, I think it's over and done with. And I think that our last thing we want to see is the Snyder cut. I mean, we even had that who's that person that John Aaron Garth had found, Sam Benjamin, one of the British actor. He was in Justice League, the one that Zack Snyder directed, and he said about 20 to 30 minutes were probably cut from his character arc. That's crazy. It was supposed to be some military guy who had scenes with a villain and a hero. He talked about the black suit scene. He says that when you watch a movie, you can actually see that cut from where Zack Snyder would have done, and I'm thinking it's actually the memorial, after the memorial scene. Who knows? I don't know, but he still can't say what happened there. So we know there's some substantial things missing from the Snyder Cut, and that's why we really want to see what that movie is in that for us. For the Snyder fans out there, I'm sure you all want that. You all want to see some closure. And in order to move on, or not move on, it's up to you. You may just want that Snyder Cut and be done with it, and that's it. Goodbye, DCEU. Nice knowing you. Or some of you are just curious to see what that extra movie is. Now, is it coming out? I don't know. But I love these hints that Zack Snyder keeps putting out, including Ray Fisher today. Me and the captain making it happen. So Zack Snyder has met up with his fellow actor and friend Ray Fisher, and they look like they're going to go work out. You see all those, they're going to weight lift and things like that. For the sane person, that is exactly what's happening. Right? For the sane, normal bystander, it's two dudes going to work out, and they just happen to have done a movie together. But then you go making it happen, like what? Making what happen? If you get your tinfoil hat on, they are finishing the Snyder Cut, baby. I don't know. But if you want to go there, it's fun to think of it that way. It gives you a little glimmer of hope, at least. Maybe they're going to go watch the Snyder Cut. Maybe he's going to do ADR on it. Maybe some, fun stuff like that. Sure, that could possibly happen beyond the look of them just working out. Zack Snyder said his new office, so he's got a gym at his office. That's totally fine. He also has other stuff in his office. I don't know, maybe a big screen where you can watch a certain something? I don't know. That could be very, very possible if you have your tinfoil hat on. And without that tinfoil hat, it protects us from being normal. That's why we tend to wear that, because we want to have fun. But in any case, it really was like this really peaceful reprieve for us fandom, for people who are blasting each other for supporting James Gunn or not supporting James Gunn, supporting Aquaman, not supporting Aquaman. There's so many different sides, but we all like Zack Snyder. at least for this one little moment, that's whether Zack Snyder meant it or not, it was to bring us together just for a little bit of glimmer of hope and say, hey, it's going to be okay. Maybe something's going to happen. Maybe it's not going to happen. But it's going to be okay. We're going to make it happen. Hope is still out there. Hope is still alive. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.